Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Discovery Pod with Eve. I am your host, Eve Richards. Today is the first episode. This is the first episode that we're doing in 2025, and my heart is really saddened because of all of the events happening in the Los Angeles area. I'm praying for all of those affected by the fires. Stay strong, and we wish everyone well and be safe. We are honored today to be joined by an exceptional guest who is the co-founder and CEO of GEANCO, Afam Onyema. Before we get into Afam, I would love to have you please watch this episode on the Discovery Pod with Eve's YouTube channel, or you could listen to us on your favorite podcast. As you've noticed, we're not in the studio today because of all of the fire that's affected the LA area. So this is a little bit different. So please bear with us. But I'm joined today by my co-host, Tony Blass. Welcome to another episode of the Discovery Pod. It is wonderful to have you back. Happy New Year. What have you been up to?
I've been auditioning and I just did a rehearsal for a film that starts shooting next week. And I'm also doing a voiceover in it's a movie based on a video game. So I'm looking forward to that.
Wonderful. First of all, I want to make sure you're safe, your family's doing well. How are you guys? Are you okay? Or how are things with you?
It's good for us, but we have some friends who had to evacuate out of the hills last night,
Um,
and it did get rather close to our office in Encino, but it appears to be that one appears to be contained. That was the Woodley fire. So
yeah.
it's been devastating to watch on television and on the internet and stuff.
It's very sad. I've been gone. I was gone for 3 weeks. I literally just got home yesterday and I'm literally shaken by all of this. My aunt who lives in Pacific Palisades, she lost her house. So I'm a little bit shaken up today. And guests, please bear with me. I'm still shaken up by all of this, but I'm so glad that we've got someone, we're deeply honored to welcome a truly exceptional guest to the Discovery Pod, Afam Onyema, co-founder and CEO of the GEANCO Foundation, a visionary who turned away lucrative law firm offers to devote his life to creating meaningful change in Nigeria. Through GENCO, FM has not only transformed lives, but also built a movement that addresses critical healthcare disparities, empowers vulnerable women and girls, and reshapes education in one of the world's most dynamic countries. His work has garnered support of global icons like Oprah Winfrey, Prince Harry, Angelina Jolie, and many others in Hollywood. I met FM at the GEANCO Gala in Hollywood last December, an event that highlights the global importance of his work and the unique abilities of his foundation to unite people from diverse walks of life. Today, we are excited to explore his journey of courage, resilience, and leadership, and learn how he's navigated the complexities of transforming a dream into a global movement. Efem, we're so glad to have you with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Eve. It's an honor to be with you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Tony. And again, thank you for those kind words about the work that we're doing. And thank you for being there at our gala last year. It was such a joy to have you.
Of course, thank you. You've made significant personal sacrifices to build Genco. Reflecting on those early days, what was the toughest moment? And did you have any doubts about your decision? And how did you push through it?
It's a great question because as you saw at the gala, there's the red carpet and all these stars, and it's a full room and all this fun energy. And I always marvel at our very first event, which was probably 10 to 15 of my friends in some small ballroom in a hotel that's since closed in downtown LA. And I was just talking about my dream and this idea that I had, that my father had. And I just remember those days, early days, where I remember if we didn't get a donation to come in by the 31st, I couldn't pay my rent on the 1st of the next month. And so it was really challenging to turn down those lucrative law firm offers and to start from scratch and to start having to raise money, to go from making a lot of money to having to raise a lot of money. And I always tell the donors who gave and responded in those early years how much I appreciate it because back then it was just an idea that I had. We didn't have any programs, we didn't have anything to show them. It was basically, trust me, I want to do this, we can do this. And they saw it and they believed in me and they believed in this work. And now you flash forward and it's kind of still heady to see like some of the most famous people in the world who are supporting us. And I cherish that. But I'll never forget those donors who were with us at the very beginning, and many of whom remain with us. So it was a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of worry, but I never ever wavered in this. I never doubted that it would happen. I thought, I didn't know the road would be as challenging and as long, but I always knew that these girls, these women, this country, Nigeria, deserves my best effort, and I'm not one to give up on things. So 17 and a half years later, we're still at it.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Thank you
Congratulations.
so much.
So this Hollywood gala that you guys met at, this is a signature event for, is it pronounced GEANCO?
GEANCO. Hmm.
GEANCO. So what does exposure from events like these contribute to the foundation's mission? And how does it connect global audiences to your work in Nigeria?
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of people sometimes frown upon having events and galas and they say it's a waste. But for us, it's really, in fact, our Hollywood gala is called a family reunion. It's a chance for everyone who supports us to come together. People fly in from the Midwest and the East Coast. I have friends who fly in from Nigeria and London, and we get together, and you just need to sometimes be together physically. I think we've realized that coming out of COVID that remote is great and virtual is great, but sometimes you need to hug someone and see someone, and they need to be able to hear from those of us doing the work on the ground and see that work and understand this is real and tangible. So it's always a fun spirit, and it does have, we've had Benedict Cumberbatch and we've had Charlize Theron and we've had Forest Whitaker and now David Oyelowo and Chiwetel Ejiofor and all these amazing stars, but it's still this family atmosphere. Like you can go up to anyone, you can talk to anyone. There are people who will see each other every year and go, oh, how's it been the last year? I haven't seen you since the last gala, or it's just really great. And I think not only does it raise money and awareness, but it gives people a chance to really connect with the work, to see us, to see my family. My family flies in for it, and so it's my favorite night of the year. So you get to meet amazing new people like Eve who come in for their first gala, and then the people who have been to 10 galas, and I just love that spirit and seeing people that didn't know each other before are now like friends, and they become contacted. And there's always something unexpected that comes out of the gala. There's always someone who said, I have an idea. I came to this event. I didn't know a lot about it. I was invited by a friend, but let me talk to my company. Let me talk to my rich uncle. Let me talk to this celebrity or this star. And it's amazing how those things come out of it. And I always tell people the work really for me begins the day after the gala to really actualize those connections and make sure that they don't go, oh, I have an idea, and then it fizzles for a year. But I love it. I can't wait. I'm already kind of planning the next gala. So it's really an exciting experience for us.
It really was my first one. And there's an iconic photo of myself and your sister, which I
Yes, that was so great.
beautiful. Like, oh my gosh. It was like, it wasn't planned. It was just
It was
so,
beautiful. It's gotten a lot of attention.
so iconic. So many leaders in philanthropy struggle to maintain authenticity while navigating high-profile partnerships. How do you ensure GEANCO's core mission remains at the forefront of everything that you do?
Yeah, I think for me, it's interesting. We work with a lot of stars. I work with a lot of stars, but I'm not starstruck. And so I treat them with respect, but I don't treat them any differently than I treat my third grade teacher who still donates, or the lawyers that donate, or the Girl Scout troop that raises money to support our girls in Nigeria. I understand there's certain issues with privacy and kind of being protective of but I'll tell Oscar winners, I'll tell Super Bowl winners, this is a demanding thing. Like I'm gonna ask things of you. Like I will do anything it takes to support these girls and these women. And so if you make a commitment, I'm gonna hold you to it. I'm not going to let you off the hook, or I'm not going to kind of be one of these people who just lets you do whatever you want. And because you're a celebrity, like I gave my life to this. And really they actually respond even more strongly to that. Like, yes, please do challenge me. I like being challenged. I don't want another yes man or yes woman. I want someone to tell me I'm amazing and whatever. I remember I was with one of our supporters, my dear friend Benedict Cumberbatch, who plays Doctor Strange, and I was on set with him. We were doing kind of a set visit experience, and I remember him saying, like, what you're doing is the real world. I'm here dressed as a wizard, playing a wizard. Like, this is not real. But if I can have this world support the real world, these girls, then I'll do it every single day. So I love the fact that we can work with these people and find creative ways to work with them. If it's giving money, great. If it's having a chance to have someone come on a set, or we did a premiere experience with the amazing Cynthia Erivo for the Wicked premiere last year. That not only was a donor able to surprise her daughter and her friends, but it was an amazing experience for them. It was an amazing experience for Cynthia, and then Universal Pictures Studios got to be able to support us, and it was a win-win. We kind of did it without. And so I always try to find those creative ways. Like, if you're an athlete, can you donate tickets? If you're an actor, can I bring someone on set? And so I think sometimes people want to just have someone, oh, can you post about us? Or can you give us money? And yeah, you can do those things. But if they're working on a big movie and they're already going to be there, why not utilize that? And so for me, it's working with them as partners and finding ways instead of a transactional, I want to use you. And I think that's hopefully what the talent that we work with would say, is that I never feel used. That's a true partnership, a true friendship. I truly care about these people. I ask about their kids. I ask about their families. I send them Christmas cards. They really do mean a lot to me.
That's wonderful. Oh, by the way, I have to thank Leonard Clifton, who is actually a guest on
Yes.
the podcast. He did the intro. So thank you, Leonard, for doing the intro.
Yeah, I love you, Leo. Leo's a dear friend. We've been friends for well over a decade, and he's an amazing supporter and friend. So thank you so much, Leo.
And also, we found out from Leonard that you also know Richard Ford, who Tony and I got to interview. It's
Yes.
a small world. So was he? I know he's a Stanford
Yeah.
professor, and you went to Stanford and Harvard.
I did, yeah, yeah. So I was at the law school when he was a professor, and as one of the few Black professors, he was really great about having barbecues and kind of having the Black students over. And so I never took a class with him, but I went to a lot of his talks, and we were more friendly, and which was great because it's a small school, so you become friends with these professors, and he's just done so well, and he's so just chill and cool, and so yeah, it really is a small world.
It is.
You are so enthusiastic. I can see how that generates
Thank you.
excitement, and people remember you and people want to talk about your mission.
Thank you.
So your focus on Nigeria comes from a personal connection, right?
Yes.
So what has Nigeria taught you about resilience, culture, and the power of community?
Ooh, wow, that is how much time do we have? That's a great question. Oh my goodness. The first one, and the first thing you said, resilience. My goodness, it is. I love Nigeria. I love Nigerians, but that country puts up a fight. It will, if you want to help it, it's going to fight back. It's the people are amazing, the government less so, and it just you deal with so many challenges. Like first of all, the poverty is staggering. People don't know that one out of every four sub-Saharan Africans is Nigerian, so the population is massive, and you just have so many problems with maternal health, and women dying needlessly, women and children dying needlessly. And so the number one thing for me was not to be overwhelmed, to kind of carve out a space and just work on that and not think I'm going in to save Nigeria. I just wanted to kind of do this one thing and build up from there. And I think people always ask us, how have you been working in Nigeria 17 and a half years and not run out of money or been swindled or cheated? And I tell people it's two things. First of all, it's finding amazing, credible, strong people on the ground. So I'm here mostly in the US. Travel to other places, but I do the fundraising, I do kind of the organizational work, but I have an amazing team of mostly young Nigerian women, kind of in their 20s and early 30s. You do actual programmatic work. My cousin Obi, he oversees it from Maryland and travels to Nigeria, but the on the ground work is done mostly by women, and just there's the full trust there that if they tell me we need $10,000 for this program, here's the budget, I know that's the budget. Like they are not padding it. They're not, no money's being siphoned anywhere. And so it's really having strong people on the ground you can trust implicitly, building that trust over years, over these past 17 years. And then also having a strong direction and focus. So kind of from my job is to set the vision and set high standards and let them meet it. And then really letting the local government and partners know that we're not in this to make money. We have no angle. We are here to help. And so leave us alone and let us help. If you leave us alone, your state will be better, the country will be better, and you don't have to put a dime into it. And so they realize, oh my goodness, you're gonna build a hospital for us, and I can just come and claim credit. And I'm like, I don't care about credit. Just leave us alone and let us build it. And so, and it's one of those things where you you build it and you show credibility. We had a really well-known NBA star approach us because he said, I've been wanting to do work in Nigeria for a while now, and my team did research and realized, wow, GEANCO's been doing actual work in Nigeria for a long time and with high-profile people for a long time. So I really trust you guys. If I give you money to do something, it'll get done. And so it's really that standard of excellence that we hold ourselves to. But Nigeria, it's challenging and chaotic with power going out and roads not working and the government always with its hand out and mostly people who are asking for bribes or whatever because they're not being paid well. So you can't really blame them because they're just not being paid well. So I think if Nigeria gets the government worthy of its people, it'll just explode as a country. Because you see Nigerians everywhere else. Nigerians in the US are killing it with Afro beats and in sports and at Goldman Sachs and in entertainment. We have several, David Oyelowo and Chiwetel and all those great actors all over the world. And so my job, my mission is to empower those local Nigerians to just live lives that they deserve, to thrive. And then whatever they want to do. They want to be a doctor, they want to be a governor, they want to be a nurse, they want to stay at home and raise their family. Whatever they want, I want to empower them to do it.
That's incredible. So GEANCO's work spans healthcare, education, and leadership development. How do you prioritize where resources go?
Yes, that was a lesson learned because you have money coming in and you want to, and sometimes they say, I'm giving you money for medical missions. Obviously, the money goes to that medical mission. But for donors who just give us money, how do you break it out between a medical mission or a scholarship or, building a school, a computer lab? And it just kind of over the years, I've done a lot of studying. I've done a lot of webinars, a lot of reading to figure out budgeting and how do you plan things so that you're not spending money and a lot of it's looking at the needs that come in and say, what's the most urgent? What do we have to cover right now? And then what's a nice to do, but not necessary? And then really making sure that we're making decisions and not just dealing with incoming. Because if I log off here and go on my email, there'll probably be 10 appeals for help. Please help my mom with a knee surgery. Please help my school with books. And so you can't take every desire and meet it. So for us, it's having a plan at the beginning of the year and saying these are our main goals and sticking with that. And then something new comes along, evaluating, saying, does it fit within our mission? Because a lot of people who want to give us money, but for things that we don't do well, or things that if we start doing them, will mission creep away from our goals. And so it's tempting to take that money, but then you realize, like, oh my goodness, like now we're doing this thing that we don't really do well. And how do we make sure that we're not getting trapped? And so I have a very strong team around me that will give us strong budgets and they know what the things cost on the ground and it's being the art of being able to say no, but actually more importantly, not yet. Like we're not ready for that yet. But also the art of saying, like, if you give us this money, we will do this and execute it. And just having the courage to go out and ask people, I need $50,000 for the scholarship. I need $25,000 to build a library and not being shy about the fundraising aspect, which not everyone can do.
So you mentioned scholarships. What role does that play in your mission, especially for young women, who may be facing systemic gender inequality in Nigeria?
Yeah, no, and the scholarship came about. I wish I could say I cannot claim credit for that at all. It was really, I got to know the actor David Oyelowo through a mutual friend, and we met around 2014, 2015, when he had just played Martin Luther King in Selma and kind of had this moment where he was becoming more of a high-profile actor. Had always been a brilliant actor, but now becoming more recognized as such. And we sat down in his home. He invited me to his home, and he said, this bring back our girls issue where girls are being kidnapped from schools and taken and married off, and just it was a horrible situation. And he said, we can't militarily do anything. We can't like fight to bring these girls back, but wouldn't it be beautiful if we could take girls who either escaped terrorism or were abandoned or orphaned or affected by it and put them back into school and really educate them and train them to be leaders. And I thought that's great. I'd love to do that. We don't really do that, but if we were to do it, I would need you to be a full partner. Not one of these celebrities who shows up on a red carpet once a year or does one, post or whatever. And he fully committed. And to his credit, he's been fully devoted. Oprah, who's a dear friend of his, was our first major donor. And since then, we've gotten, the Jimmy Kimmels and Oscars and people, of that sort. But for us, it's really finding girls with that innate spark, and they just have that brilliance. But then their parents can't afford to pay for their tuition, or the parents have passed away or have been murdered, or they're living in a refugee camp, and kind of find them these diamonds in the rough, put them into school, and really wrap ourselves around them. So we pay for everything in terms of tuition and room and board, but we also do, as you mentioned, the leadership training. And so we have our team give them leadership skills outside of the curriculum. And then we partnered with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to not provide them with mental health and menstrual health for the girls in particular, because we realize these kids have gone through so much, and mentally, like we are missing so much if we don't address their mental health, which is true here in the U.S. as much as it is in Nigeria, and more so with the stigma that's inherent in Nigeria. So Prince Harry and Meghan have been so amazing and so forthright in that. We're really proud of that partnership. And now we partnered with another group, Smith's Foundation, out of the UK, to provide STEM education. So they're learning about AI, and they're learning about VR, and they're building drones and learning about 3D printing. And I love the idea of these young girls knowing how to 3D print and knowing about open AI and all that kind of stuff. So I just love these girls. And now we're having this conversation in January. By late January, early February, I'll be in Nigeria with David Oyelowo, his wife, Jessica, another actress, Folake, and we're going to do creative arts. So they're going to learn about digital art and dance and screenwriting and acting and singing, and they're going to just like express themselves in a whole new way. And so I love these girls. They're my heart. I love seeing them grow because it's a 6-year program. So once you're in the program, you're there for 6 years. So I get to see them from being these timid, shy, malnourished girls who come in year one to these brilliant, bright leaders by year 6. And it's just one of the great joys of my life.
That's incredible. Flake was actually at the last
Yes.
Ember, and she, for anyone who doesn't know her name, she's actually the lead from Abishola.
Yes, yes. Pablo Zabashola on
Abishola,
CBS.
which was on CBS, so she's the lead. And I was amazed that she's actually a very gifted
Oh,
musician as well. Like,
she's
wow, she was
amazing.
performing. She was
She was
incredible. Like,
fire.
wow. So
Pure.
many aspiring change makers look to you as a role model. What advice would you give them about turning passion into something sustainable?
Fantastic question. Tenacity. I think I tell people I don't consider myself particularly smart or genius or gifted, but I'm tenacious. I get up Monday morning and do this work. I get up Sunday morning, do this work. The idea of you keep doing it and you keep doing it. I told someone the other day in terms of fundraising, I was sending an email to someone asking for their support, and I said, I'm probably gonna have to email this person 7 times before I get an answer. And I'm ready to do that. And so as long as in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is email number 1. He didn't respond. I've got 6 more. And so a lot of folks can't do that. But I'm not going to go to one of our girls and say, I want to give you a scholarship, but I'm too shy about asking this rich person for money. Or I want to give you STEM education, but this celebrity is really famous and it's kind of awkward. Like, I just want to be tenacious, and I want to, in a respectful way. I tell people I've never begged for a dollar. I've never pestered someone. I've never browbeat someone. If they want to give, fantastic. If they don't, God bless you, go on your way. But I will follow up. I will keep at it. And some of the things that we've done with some of the biggest names that we have, I can peel it back and go, oh yeah, it's because I emailed this person 10 times or called them 6 times, or they went to an event 10 times and then 11th time it finally clicked for them. So just being tenacious. I think in this world we're so ready to give up, move on to the next thing. And for me, I think I've outlasted a lot of other organizations or whatever, as opposed to like being smarter or better than them.
That's fantastic. Great advice for anyone, regardless of the industry. As a follow-up to that, what motivates you? Like, what keeps
Mm.
you excited just to keep going?
I think it's two things. I think this job involves so much interaction with people. And I love meeting on this side of the Atlantic. I always say, I love meeting donors. I love meeting supporters and partners and having a coffee with them or a tea with them or lunch and just like talking about this work, learning about them. As I mentioned, a lot of our donors are friends. Like I go to their kids' soccer games. I'll go to their weddings, I'll go to their events, I'll go, and they'll message me on my birthday. It's not just a transactional, okay, December 31st, here's my check. It's very much a friendship. And I'm just not a transactional person. So I love that relationship. I love kind of digging in and getting to know someone and them knowing that yes, I want you to support this work. Like I'm not being coy about that, whether it's monetarily or through an introduction or access. But I'm not coming after you only for that. So they realize that and appreciate that. And then for me, being able to do both, being able to do the fundraising, but then also go to Nigeria. I go twice a year and to see our girls and to see our patients and to be there for a medical mission and see people come out with new hips or a hernia fixed and then see our girls learn about STEM or use the library that we built for them. I just love that. I love empowering people. And so every day is different. Every day is a challenge. Every day is there's frustrations in every day, but there are joys and there are these mini victories and these big victories. And this job is so different. Like if it was the same, I wouldn't be doing it 17 and a half years, but literally every year, every day is different and it keeps me on my toes. And the fact that I get to run it and lead it and lead these amazing people is again such a great privilege for me.
That's wonderful. Tony, does it remind you of Dr. Juteli from season one?
Yes, doing so much work. But what I asked her, is I'd like to know from you as well. It sounds exhausting and it sounds invigorating and exciting, but how do you balance personal life or
Mm.
other commitments with all of this work?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because like I just consider like I think it's I consider it integrated. Like I love the time if I'm meeting with a donor for lunch. It's work, but I enjoy it. Like it's not like, oh, I gotta meet with this person. I mean, sometimes it is, honestly. Like there's some people where you're like, oh, okay, let me just get through this. But for very few, most of the times I get to meet this person, have time with them, and get to know them. So it is work because we are talking about GEANCO and donations or support or ideas. But to me, it's like a joy, and because most of my friends are donors, but every time I spend with them socially, they'll ask about GEANCO and I'll talk about it and all that. Um, but then I think because and running a foundation from LA and the kind of the special things you get to do, like someone will call me and say, "Hey, come to this premiere with me," or "Hey, you want to come on set? I miss you. I want to see you," or getting special screenings or tickets to things and all that makes it interesting. I don't do it because of that, but it certainly makes it different than running a foundation from a different place. So, and because we lean into that and leverage that community, that really helps. But I think for me, because it's a vocation and not a job, right? I have friends who work for firms and companies where, Friday at 6, like they're closing their work laptop and it's not opening up again until Monday at 8 a.m., And so for me, yes, I'm always on. If a donor emails me at 9 p.m. on a Sunday, I'm going to respond because I want that support. I want something from that person in terms of helping our girls and our women. Um, so I probably not the best person to talk about like work-life balance, and I feel like it is just GEANCO is people will ask
Yeah.
me how I am. I'm like, oh, I'm doing great, GEANCO. Da, da, da. I'm like, no, how are you doing? I'm like, I just told you, and so I'd be better at that. But and I have friends who kind of keep me in check and say, we're gonna have dinner, or we're going to this game, no GEANCO talk. Like talk about anything else, but we're not talking about. I'm like, all right, deal, we can do that. But yeah, it's really the fact that people give us money that they don't have to give us. There's no law, there's no rule. If they want to get tax write-off, there are literally 1.5 million charities out there. And it just blows my mind that people do that they want to help and want to support and they believe in this and they believe in me. And that energizes me more than anything else in the world.
That's wonderful. To piggyback on that question, so for those inspired by your work, what are some practical ways they can contribute to GEANCO's mission beyond financial donations?
Sure. I think for those, like we always, there's opportunity and access and funding. So if someone wants to give money directly, great. But I always tell people, think about who might have access to something interesting. It literally could be as someone's like, oh, my friend has season tickets to the Clippers and they're in the new stadium this year. I can give you tickets to auction off. And they did, and those raised money. Or, oh yeah, my friend works for HBO. Maybe I can get you a set visit for one of their shows. Or my brother's company is this big, industrial technology company, and he really pushed them to kind of encourage them to support our work in this way. And that's how the STEM thing came along when they created their corporate foundation. So people kind of look at their network in the world and go, who can I help? How can I help in a way that maybe I know someone, an introduction? We have a network of surgeons who we can rely on to do our medical missions. And so that to a certain extent, depending on what their specialty is and what we're doing that year in terms of a medical mission. Yeah, I think there's definitely one of those things where, like, I like having conversations with people as long as there's an understanding of, like, sometimes someone called me the other day and goes, oh, I have all this like kind of used clothes in my garage. I want to donate them to Nigeria. I'm like, well, that's not going to be helpful. The cost of getting your clothes to Nigeria, you might as well just give us the money, or give me the money. I'll give it to a local tailor to make the clothes. And so there's certain things that don't work because we're an international charity, and everyone who wants to go to Nigeria can't because the capacity isn't there. But I think if people really think about it and come and say, like, I'm serious about helping and I'm not necessarily looking to have an experience. That I think that's different. That's the difference. It's like people want to help as opposed to I want to like I want to help because I care about the girls and the women and the people you're helping, as opposed to I want an experience. I want to feel a certain way. Or I want to post about something, or so it's yeah.
So,
So sometimes you have to turn down certain grants,
Yes.
uh, um, and it's because you're not prepared. You don't think that's an area of strength at this point. Can you give us any idea of some things that would be an example of that, and do you plan to move into those areas?
Sure, sure. Yeah. So I think kind of a smaller scale, as I mentioned, people will constantly say, oh, I have these books to donate or these clothes or these toys. And again, like the cost of getting them from here to there. A lot of technology. We had a call with a big international institution, and this is back when NFTs and kind of crypto was coming back, but like it was that was like the hot NFT was just really hot, and they had this idea of like, let's teach these girls about NFTs and they can kind of use that in their education. And I remember telling this organization, like, the girls in Nigeria barely have running water and constant power. Like, the idea of like going from that to NFTs, let's teach them about mathematics and calculus and physics and all that. And so sometimes people come in with these ideas about what's the next hot, flashy thing, as opposed to let's start with the fundamentals and build from there. So we've had to turn those down because A, that's not our expertise, and B, we wouldn't it wouldn't be the most effective for our girls. And so or someone will say, I want to do something, but it has to be in my village or in this area as we built here. And like, well, we're not a middleman. Like, we have the work that we do and you can support it. Or they'll say, I want a scholarship, I want to pick the girls. And that's an absolute deal killer for us. Like, we say, you support the scholarship. We have a criteria. We go through it. We don't want you picking a girl and then that becomes your girl. And there's this weird relationship there where like you think you own the girl, whatever. So we tell people, like, you can give to the scholarship, but we make the decisions. We'll share information and you'll know what's going on, but we're not one of those organizations where you kind of adopt a girl and they have to write to you every week or whatever type of thing, which, again, God bless those people who do that. They do great work, but we're just different. And so we're open to things. But certainly there's a flexibility there, and you can look at our programs and see how they've grown and changed based on partners that we have. But we have to kind of, what's our core mission, and knowing what you can do and can't do, and having humility and saying, no, we're not capable of doing that. That's not our expertise. That's not my expertise. Is something that I think every charity leader has to have the courage to be able to say.
So the pandemic obviously reshaped the healthcare system. How has GEANCO adapted to these changes, and what new opportunities have emerged as a result?
Mhm. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that happened for us during the pandemic, it's interesting because everyone was worried about not only like not raising money, but they thought that COVID would wipe out Nigeria, wipe out Africa. Like, oh, the poor Africans, they have no protection, no vaccines. And the resilience, like it's amazing how the number of deaths that we weren't witnessing anywhere near the number of fatalities that were happening in Europe and the US. And there are all sorts of questions and theories that I won't get into, but like we were really pleased with the fact that COVID didn't just completely waylay people. We obviously pivoted into helping with PPE and teaching people about COVID. The one thing that really came about was we had a donor who wanted to help, and we said, well, if we can create these mobile clinics in certain areas, that would help the local areas address COVID and other issues more rapidly and directly, as opposed to having them referred to a hospital like it's overrun, that's 100 miles away or what have you. So we started our first mobile clinic. We take 40-foot shipping containers and turn them into clinics and put them into these areas. They're solar powered, self-contained, and this generous family that runs the Julia Burke Foundation gave us money for our first 4 clinics. And so we built these clinics and they were so successful. And now we have 6 of them in different regions, and women are getting their health care. They're delivering their babies safely and getting good prenatal care. The kids are getting vaccinated. Men are coming in for prostate exams and blood pressure. And again, like these mobile units. And then they get so big that we add another container to the same facility, and they're run by these amazing local nurses. So our goal is to expand that. Like that was born out of COVID. We have, as I mentioned, we have 6 clinics. We could have 60 clinics. The need there is overwhelming. So that's one thing that I look back and say COVID was a really challenging time, but the legacy of what we built out of that is continuing to this day.
That's incredible. So tell our listeners a little bit about the name GEANCO.
Yeah. Yeah,
HTV.
so it's the amalgamation of first initials in the family. So GEANCO is a family. Like I mentioned, our gala is a family reunion. I talk about our donors as family members, and so GEANCO, the G is Godwin, my father. The E is Abella, who's one of my sisters. I'm the A, and then the N is Unche, the youngest, my sister, and then Unma, my mom's Nigerian name. She goes by Josephine, but her name is Unma, and then. Chukwu Gozie, everyone calls him Goes. That's my brother. And then Onyema. And so growing up, my dad, the license plates were all like Jinko 1, Jinko 2. And then when we created this foundation, it went without saying that it was going to be Jinko. That wasn't even an issue. And so it's instead of like the African Health Foundation or the Nigerian Medical Foundation, our name is rooted in story. And I just believe in the power of story. I mean, we're here in LA, which is the land of stories, and it's amazing how many people I'll tell that story to, and they'll think about their own family and their own brothers and sisters or dad. And so, like, I just believe so much in the power of story and its ability to empower people, but also persuade people to come to a cause, because they won't come in because, oh, well, I'm coming in because 20% of Nigerian women don't have whatever. They'll say, I'm coming in because of your story and how you relate to your dad, and how that makes me think about my dad, and how my mom, I want my wife delivered safely, and I want all women to deliver safely and stuff like that. Or my daughter has the best education in the world I can give her, and I want girls in Nigeria to have the same privilege. So I really truly believe in the power of story.
So as you have to follow up,
Mhm.
what role does storytelling and media play in amplifying GEANCO's mission?
Yeah, no, I think if you look at our website, we try to, whatever we do, whether it's a medical mission, whether it's the STEM education summits, whether it's Prince Harry and Meghan came to Nigeria and and headlined our first mental health summit last year. And so we have videos of all of that. And
I
so
saw
people,
videos from May of
yeah.
24.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was an incredible experience, and be able to share that with people, and they hear directly from our girls, our kids. They hear from the women who are being treated at the clinics, and they hear from the patients from the medical missions, and they hear from our team. And I think that's just a really powerful thing. And then, sharing that, and like everyone else, you try to share that via social media. We ask our kind of high profile partners to share as well. And they've gone on to various shows. And whenever I always tell the actors and their publicists, if you're promoting a movie, big Marvel movie, just give them like 30 seconds to talk about Jinko, and try to get the word out that way. And so it's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot going on, and a lot of it's kind of just flashy. Look at me, how amazing I am, or how amazing we are. to be authentic can be challenging, but it's necessary in this modern media landscape.
You talked about resilience as being such an important thing for you to keep going and to keep. So, can you tell us a story of a particularly challenging time for GEANCO and how you and your team overcame it?
Yeah, definitely. So I think as I mentioned, we have a number of these medical and surgical missions. And so we did one in 2005. It was our first one. I was still in law school, so I didn't go, but I helped fundraise for it. And then we did one in particular in 2011, and it was one of those missions where everything that could go wrong did. The doctors didn't bring the right instruments, and so they couldn't operate until so we had to have someone literally grab the instrument, fly from Chicago to Atlanta to Nigeria, drive through the night, hand the instrument off, and then fly back. And we had to pay for all of that. And then the power generator at the hospital broke down. The hospital team, half of them they're on strike, but then you try to focus on the patients, right, and do whatever you can for the patients, and learn from it. And so we were able to have a successful mission in terms of there are people walking pain-free this very day who would not have. And so do you want to do it more smoothly and more efficiently? Absolutely. But you still want to do it. You still want to roll with the punches and deal with the challenges. And so learning from that, and I think this for me also trust. You put your trust in the wrong people sometimes in terms of people, oh yeah, I'm going to fundraise for you, or I have this deal, or I can deliver this, or I can help with that. And you want to have optimism. You don't want to be kind of curmudgeonly or always be looking askance at people. But for me, it's always kind of trust but verify, or let someone do something, but don't if they don't do it, we're not going to be negatively disadvantaged. So it's just being really careful. Sometimes like people will, I've been called out for like, why don't you trust me? Like, give me this money, I can do this. Or I'm like, no, like this is precious money. I have friends who gave us this money. So prove yourself. Let's develop a relationship, or like let's put these safeguards in so that if things don't go well, then I'm not telling this donor, sorry, we wasted your money on this. So it's a balance between taking risks but also being smart. But yeah, for me, I'm constantly learning. Like I never thought I'd lead anything. I thought I'd kind of always kind of be the worker bee, or the kind of the guy who's like whispering in the guy who's leading, whispering in his or her ear, like do this, do that, but never be the one that has to make the decision. So to do this work is really you're making decisions, 100 decisions a day. Everything from do I email this donor to these girls get scholarships, yes or no, or do we do this project, or how do we get this person back on board? And do you have the gala on this date or that day? So like it's been a learning experience for me. I feel like every day I learn, and I'll probably be saying that 20 years from now I'll still be learning.
So, FM, as the final question, if you were to have dinner with three people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I yeah, it's a really good question. I will not, kind of as a person of faith, I won't say Jesus because I think that's an easy answer. So I'll just kind of leave leave him aside. But I grew up in Chicago in the Michael Jordan era, so like I was a big Bulls fan and kind of grew up when they were winning championships. So it'll be interesting to throw Michael in there. I think having Oprah there would be really interesting, her wisdom, and like she's a supporter of ours, and so be able to talk to her more about her life and work and her passion for girls. And for that third person, gosh, that is a really, really, I would say Abraham Lincoln. I feel like
Ah,
just
very
a
good.
wise, someone who's so wise, who like was thought ahead of his time. I feel like he's like someone you can plop into these times, and he would kind of figure it out. He understand, like he wouldn't be like so, you know. I can't believe a Negro is talking to me right now. Like, what? I feel like he's not like that kind of person. I feel like he was, and I feel like he would get it. He understand, like he was constantly evolving. I've read so much about him. I've read so many biographies about him. So those would be my three.
Wonderful. FM, it's been an extraordinary privilege to have you with us today. Your story is one of courage, purpose, and relentless determination. And your work, the work you've done through GENCO, is a testament to the power of a single vision to ignite global change. Thank you so much for being here with us. Tony, this has been an incredible way to start 2025.
Absolutely. I mean, I just cannot imagine having the courage that it would take to just give up life as we all think it should be, and knowing just to go forward into something and really make a change and survive the challenges of dealing with, maybe a bit of an unstable environment or whatever. So it's just amazing the success you've had, and I hope you keep having as much as you can handle.
Well, thank
The
you
way
both so much for having me. I treasure this conversation. Thank you for honoring me by having me on. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you. And of course, the way you brought together icons, industries, and communications to address critical issues in Nigeria is deeply inspiring. To our listeners, please make sure you watch this episode with Afam. Very inspiring on the Discovery Pod with Ease YouTube channel. Or you can listen to us on your favorite podcast. Roger Neal, thank you for producing. Tony Sweet, you're there somewhere. Thank you for Gosh, what can I say? It's been one of those challenging days, but we made it happen. And thanks everyone for watching. Until then, see you next week. Thanks again and have a great day.